Well, what a day. What a couple of days. Anyway, here we are. A little bit of a quick update as to what's been going on in the world of local government elections. Big news. The biggest news, probably that's not related to Temora, is the absolute debacle that's unfolded in the Liberal ranks. Apparently, a fellow who is the um, state director of the New South Wales Liberal Party has failed to lodge candidate nominations on behalf of 140 Liberal Party candidates who were going to stand for election in the local government elections coming up on the 14th of September. Now, this is massive when you consider that one person affected is Penrith Deputy Mayor. So the acting Deputy Mayor of Penrith, who intended to stand again, has missed out on having his nomination even filed by the party that he represents. It's a bungle on a scale. I can't ever recall something like this occurring. Every election, there'll be someone who misses out. Every election, there'll be someone who doesn't get their paperwork done, or there's a hard luck story. My dog ate my homework. You know, there's always just that one individual. But to have this happen on a scale of this, it's just extraordinary. When you consider that just the scale of it is for example, and this comes from a newsletter that comes to it's called Inside Local Government. So it's public access information that's distributed throughout councils throughout New South Wales and Australia. As a result of the nomination failure, Liberal candidates will not appear on ballot papers for the local government areas of Blue Mountains, Campbelltown, Cessnock, Lane Cove, Maitland, Northern Beaches, Shoalhaven and Wollongong. Now, a big shout out to James Caldwell, running as an independent in Ward 2 at Wollongong. Well, doesn't that make life a bit easier, James, when the Liberals just don't even turn up? So good luck to you. That's something that just completely unexpected. And now nominations are also believed to be missing from the Camden, Canterbury Bankstown, Central Coast, Georges River, Hornsby, Newcastle, North Sydney, Penrith and Queanbeyan Palerang councils. That's extraordinary. I suppose at this point in time, I really should take the opportunity. This is a bit of a catch-up. My name's Anthony Irvine. I currently sit as a councillor on Temora Shire Council. However, the views I express on this podcast are mine and mine alone, and not that of Temora Shire Council. Usually I'm joined by my able assistant and great friend and supporter, Mr. Dean McRae. However, Dean covered for me last night because I got held over an extraordinarily intense and long meeting at Temora Shire Council that commenced at 4 p.m. and didn't finish until well after 9:30. So we're talking 5.5 hours. A lot of the time was taken up saying farewell to the 4 councillors who are departing, resigning, not staying on for another term for reasons known only to them. A lot of other time was taken over with delegations and making sure the council can function in the caretaker period that commences from today through until election day, where councils are restricted from making certain decisions. And then, of course, we've got a situation where following the elections, there won't be a mayor elected. So the councils can't make big decisions over this period of time. And it's not until the councils come together in October, the first meeting in October, when the mayor's elected, the councils begin to function again with a governing body. So the corporate side of council are running the show, and they've got delegations up to and including certain price limits on contracts and certain authority to undertake certain tasks on behalf of council. But all that stuff had to be rolled through last night. And then, of course, we had a couple of really contentious issues that I'll go into in a little while. So thanks very much to Dean for covering off last night and for holding the fort. I'm not going to waste your time. It's Friday night. It's finals time. It's footy time. You don't want to listen to me banging on. But part of this whole process is to bring you guys the news as it happens, as fresh as it possibly can be. Why wait until next Thursday to read a biased report in the Temora Independent when you can get it straight from a councillor's mouth tonight? So, onwards and upwards. This is public access information that I'm about to read out. Council heard from, or were presented with a couple of reports into codes of conduct that were initiated against me. They were brought by the mayor to the general manager, and the general manager decided to engage a code of conduct investigator to investigate the initial breaches and to determine whether an investigation should commence. And after the initial investigation report, the investigator said, yes, there should be an investigation. And subsequently, they've furnished council with reports to that effect. And the timing is impeccable, considering that both reports, one that was commenced, I think it may have started in, 1st of December last year. And the other report, let me find the detail, was commenced 25th of October 2023. So we're talking October and December last year that these matters were initiated. They've been bubbling away in the background for all of that time, and out of the blue, they managed to get finalised at the last council meeting before the elections. Lo and behold, a resolution of council was announced following the confidential discussions relative to these matters. And this is all public access information because the resolutions have been reported by council at the council meeting last night publicly. So it's public release. So in the first matter, it was resolved that council, under section 440G of the Local Government Act 1993 and under provisions of 7.37B, 7.46, 7.58B and 7.59 of the procedures for the administration of the Code of Conduct, officially and formally censure Councillor Anthony Irvine in relation to an email sent by Councillor Anthony Irvine on the 24th of October 2023, which was found to be in breach of the following clauses of the Code of Conduct by an independent investigator. Now, this isn't part of the resolution. The independent investigator is appointed by the General Manager from a panel of investigators pre-approved for use by councils for these purposes. So the independent investigator isn't completely independent because the independent investigator gives a bill to council. So there's not a lot of independence there. They're not separate to council. They're paid by council to undertake these investigations with information provided by council to initiate the investigations. So we'll go on with the resolution from last night's meeting. Clause 3.1A of the code, in that it is likely to have brought council or council officials into disrepute. So the email of 24th of October 2023 has been deemed It's likely to have brought council or council officials into disrepute. There also appears to be a breach of clause 3.1b of the code, in that it is contrary to council's administrative requirements or policies. Clause 8.10 of the code, in that he failed to maintain the integrity and security of confidential information in his possession. Now, that's a pretty serious allegation, isn't it? Clause 811b of the code, in that he did not protect the confidential information. Clause 811c of the code, in that he released the confidential information without authority. And clause 811f of the code, in that he used the confidential information with the intention to cause harm or detriment to the council or any other person or body. So that is the resolution from last night's council meeting relative to that matter. So I suppose, from the viewer's perspective, you may be wondering what was in the email. Well, council won't tell you. Part of this process is that council can make a resolution like this. They can agree to censure me, which I'll talk about what a censure motion is in a minute, but basically they can censure me and make these allegations, and I really haven't got any recourse and no access to any sort of due process. Their evidence hasn't been tested, and they won't actually provide the community with the facts of what I actually did. So it's a very unusual, I consider quite dysfunctional process, and at times I believe it does get used for political purposes. Perhaps in this occasion it has been used for political purposes. The fact that two codes of conduct have happened to be finalised after such a long period of time, and just happened to be finalised coincidentally at the last meeting before the local government elections, and they happen to make findings against me, but there's no further information pertaining to that, then a gullible, impressionable person who doesn't ask the sensible question as to what did he actually do and what proof have you got, would then believe that I've done some terrible things and must be a very naughty, naughty boy. So we'll go on to the second matter. And the second matter, and I can only read the resolution of council as was read out last night at the council meeting. I can't read anything contained within the preamble to this report or the final investigation report, because that's confidential at this stage. It's a bit unusual in that they can bring all these allegations and find you guilty of all these things. They don't actually have to justify what it's about or what the matters may actually be. So it was resolved by council in the second matter under section 440G of the Local Government Act 1993, and under provisions of 7.37B, 7.46, 7.58B and 7.59 of the procedures for the administration of the Code of Conduct, officially and formally censure Councillor Anthony Irvine in relation to emails sent by Councillor Anthony Irvine on the 22nd of November 2024, which were found to be in breach of the following clauses of the Code of Conduct by an independent investigator. And I will just put my own further information on it. They refer here to an independent investigator who is engaged by council and paid by council. A, clause 3.1A of the code. So I'm found to be in breach of the following clauses. A, 3.1A of the code, in that the email of the 22nd of November 2023 at 1:58 p.m. to be specific, is likely to have brought the council and council officials into disrepute. B, clause 3.1B of the code. So I've breached clause 3.1B of the code, in that the emails of the 22nd of November 2023 at 1:58 p.m. and 2:18 p.m. to be precise, breached council's administrative procedures. And at section C, clause 3.1e of the code, in that the email of the 22nd of November 2023 at 2:18 p.m. causes, comprises, or involves intimidation or verbal abuse. Now, there's no expansion. So that's the end of the resolution. So there's no expansion, there's no information, there's nothing available for a sensible person to actually go, okay, what did he do? Where did he do it? How did he do it? So that they may make their mind up in a fair and reasoned fashion and determine whether or not it is a heinous crime or whether it's a beat up. There are some shortcomings in the code of conduct process, and they were pointed out very clearly in a speech to Parliament from the now Minister for Local Government, Minister Ron Honig, when he was in opposition, and he goes in great length. So if you have the opportunity, go and search Ron Honig Code of Conduct, and on Ron's own Facebook page, he's very proud of it. This rousing speech that he delivered to Parliament that goes into the shortcomings of the Code of Conduct situation at the moment, and Ron's the Minister for Local Government now. So he's got the opportunity to make some change. So whenever you're ready, Ron, I'm ready. I think we're due for some change here. I think this system sucks. It is very, very, very poorly thought out. It's very poorly considered. It doesn't provide any procedural fairness for the alleged perpetrator. And it really is just used by the people to smear an individual, smear their reputation, without actually telling the public what they may have done, and giving the public an opportunity to make their own mind up. So that's where that's at. Now, it was really important that I come to you guys tonight and let you guys know that that's what's going on. So, going forward, a censure motion. A censure motion is when council express their extreme disapproval at someone's behaviour. Okay. We've had that happen twice. That happened last night. That's it. Over. Done. Finished. That's the end of the line. There's no further actions. There's no referral to the Office of Local Government for any consideration of any of these matters. So that is it. Finished. The only other thing that the residents and ratepayers might want to consider, and this will be reported later in the year, is the cost of these processes. Now, it will be reported later in the year because council have to do a return on a 12-monthly basis of what the costs of codes of conduct are, in both terms of what they pay to third-party independent investigators and also what they pay their own staff in the collection and presentation of evidence and the processing of these matters. So I think the reports are due to be prepared in September, and I imagine that will be fairly fresh into the new council. So the elections run in September. I imagine they're going to be preparing the reports over the month of September, and I imagine there's something that the new council will see probably in October. So, excuse me, that'll be interesting reading for the new council, just to see how much money council have expended on codes of conduct over the last 12 months. We know that council expended a significant sum in the previous 12 months on other codes of conduct. So the tally is starting to rack up, and so far at this point in time, the previous code of conduct matter, I was censured again. And also there were some matters referred to the Office of Local Government. Now, they've been with the Office of Local Government now since April 18th or 19th. So April, May, June, July, August, 4 months. Do you think the Office of Local Government might hand down some sort of information or make some statement relative to this referral before the local government elections, or will they save it up for afterwards? Who knows? Who knows how the Office of Local Government thinks? If Senate estimates, the Deputy Secretary of the Office of Local Government, Mr. Brett Whitworth, made a very concise and deliberate statement that the Office of Local Government certainly don't want the code of conduct process to be weaponised. Now, Dean and myself spoke about ICAC coming out last week or the week before saying that they don't want referrals to ICAC being weaponised. If someone suspects corrupt conduct for an ICAC matter, they're obliged to report that to ICAC, but they're not obliged to report it to the public that they've referred someone. So you're quite entitled to report something to ICAC, but keep your mouth shut until the investigation takes place. So we'll see if any of this code of conduct information is further weaponised, which in my opinion, these two may have been, considering the timing and the fact that they were both initiated back in 2023 and just both happened to come to fruition at the last meeting prior to the local government elections. But anyway, that's just me. I might be paranoid. Anyway, it's been a pretty big week in local government election circles. We've had the finalisation of nominations and the rolls closed on 12 noon on Wednesday. So final nominations were taken. And as I referred to the Liberal Party debacle where they actually stuffed that up. But in tomorrow, we're a bit more organised, and 15 bright-eyed and bushy-tailed candidates did manage to get their paperwork in on time. Dean and myself are going to go in depth into the merits or otherwise of the prospective candidates over the course of the next week or so. We really look forward to talking about some of that sort of stuff going forward. But I just want to be really mindful tonight that everyone else has got other things to do. It's the Friday night. It's the start of the weekend. We've got lives. We've got other things to do rather than this stuff. But I really do think that you people need to know exactly what's going on as fresh as we can possibly deliver it to you. So look, signing off now. Have a great weekend, and we will be back with you guys next Thursday night. Have a great weekend.